And the ink, wow, the ink flow on this is just crazy. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Is It Worth It, where I go around the world and the internet looking for art supplies to make your life just a little bit easier or for you to enjoy the craft just this much more. Now today's episode we go back to Five Below. You guys, you have to know that I love going through Five Below to see if any of their stuff is quality, because a lot of it actually is. And you know, as a teacher and seeing a lot of students struggling with how much it costs to be an artist, it is great to be able to find a lot of deals that are out there so that you can actually make informed decisions as far as if you should be buying those cheaper materials or if you do need to put a little bit more money towards your art supplies. And with this, we are going to look at the 15 grayscale markers. This is something new that they have been doing, is this. I haven't seen these before. Yes, they have been in the store for a little bit, but they haven't actually packaged just their gray markers together before. And so I'm really looking forward to looking into these gray markers because I use a lot of gray. And if they are halfway decent, being able to get 15 markers for $5 is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And I want to make sure that these are going to be worth it or not because I have such an affinity for grayscale markers. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video so that you can get the full honest review about how these markers perform. And as you all know, there is only one way to figure out if these are actually worth it. So come on, let's go check them out. Alright, so as you can see, Five Below has been putting in a lot of effort to having their packaging look interesting. And I really do appreciate it because it just makes the stuff look better. There's something to be said about getting just a pure plastic case or, you know, some chipboard and whatnot. But when it looks more appealing, it just makes you want to buy it more. And especially since it is a $5 purchase, seeing something like this is really nice, and it allows you to know exactly what you're getting, right? Dual tipped, you get the chisel and the bullet. It says that it's got quality ink in it, broad fine tip, high pigment ink, archival quality, easy to blend, right? Now the back is a little lacking. They didn't do much here, but they do show you the kind of markers that you can get, where it's coming from, you know. So that's not, but this, right? The curb appeal of the packaging, this looks nice. So, but it is just regular chipboard. There's nothing really special to that, but it is nice to see the interesting packaging. And then as it was in on the inside, it says that this is their Pro Series. So I'm really looking forward to what they consider their Pro Series. And these are Five Below because there is no one else on it. Right, so yeah, so these are the Five Below markers. All right, so, and with this, here are markers, right? Let me pull these over so we can see it. This is a, you know, square, rectangle-ish marker. These have the feeling of their regular, just alcohol markers. It doesn't have the same feel as the illustration markers. So if you remember any of the reviews that we've done for the illustration markers and the iterations they have, this feels more like it's plastic, right? So this has got definitely a more plastic feel to it, which is something you need to keep in mind. But the size is the same. We know, like, it's gonna have a great snap, right? There's that. Right, both sides have great snap. They post. Right, so we'll make sure that both sides post. Right, so that's all good. It's very standard. It tells you what side is what. Only on one side though, so it's not as convenient. Since it is just a rectangle, it would have been nice to have them on all sides just to make it easier. But I understand why they don't, because it's less appealing. But the bullet looks pretty sturdy, right? Doesn't look like there's too much ink on there, so it's not over saturated, which is nice. And like I said, the bullet seems nice. It's not really a super fine tip. It's just a medium bullet, so nothing too crazy. And then the chisel looks like your standard chisel, but it does look like there is a lot of ink in here. Not too much, but it looks like it's definitely well saturated. Now, I do see that they do have different indicators, right? So you have this kind of look, which tells you it's a warm gray also, but one is a full cap color and the other one is just like that. It's nice when you have it right out of the box, but to be honest, these are interchangeable, so you will get confused on that. But to start, they're telling you, hey, look, if you use this only, then you know that this is the bullet and this is the chisel. So that's a nice little addition to this marker. But like I said, these are very interchangeable, I think. Yeah, so, right, you have that. But the one thing that you do have to indicate what is there is a gap for the bullet tip, which allows you to see this little line. So that'll always tell you that, hey, this is supposed to be the bullet side, right? So there are a couple indicators that'll help you in what side is what, just in case. But because it is rounded, as you see, right, and it will just keep going. Well, it did on my side. It stops eventually, but see, when it rolls, it does roll, so you got to be aware of that. But one thing that they did do, which I like, is it's color coded, right? So, and I know that they normally do that with the back, but having them with this very nice long tip, you can just instantly see like, oh, I need this gray or I need that gray. Now, we will have to see how close they get when they are on paper, but as of right now, these are nice indications of like, oh, these colors will work for this. All right, so for the test, we are going to come back to Strathmore Bristol Board Smooth 300 series. So if you want to try along, you can see the results are from that. So let's go ahead and get these markers on the paper. All right, so we have all our grays. Right, I guess we need to flip this around this way. So we have all our grays as they are indicated here. What we have is a full set of cool grays, right, from 2 all the way to 9. And there's some random 7. So we have 2, oh no, there's 3, 3, 5, and 7, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, and then we also have 9. So it's 3, 5, 3, 5, 7, 9, and then 2, 4, 6, 8. So you have a nice range of cool grays. Then you have 2 blue grays and 4 warm grays. Okay. So I'm a big proponent of the cool grays, so we are just going to take one of the cool ones. I'm going to take this one to use the marker. Okay, so. Alright, so, I mean, they flow really nicely. That's really nice, right? That's really good. Like, wow. So the ink is really flows very, very nicely, right? Stays with you really quickly. And it seems like you can actually get a lot of coverage from this bullet, right? Because normally, doing something like that, it doesn't give you a lot of ink, but you can really just you can cover a lot of space with just the bullet. That's fantastic. All right, before we switch over, let's see if we can get any other kind of lines. You can get a little bit of thicker line and a thinner line. So there are 3 sizes that you can get out, right? So if you hold it straight up, you can actually get a really thin line. If you hold it normally, like you were to write, you could get the medium. And then if you hold it more on the flat side, you can get a little bit thicker than the medium. Just, I mean, very little difference, but it does have enough variation for that. Right. right? So the chisel gives you at least 4 different variations. You have the medium one, which is when you hold it like this. You can flip it over and use the tip. You can get really thin lines. Then if you hold it so you get the full flat, you can get that. And then when you use the back side, you can get a more medium. And the ink, wow, the ink flow on this is just crazy, right? It doesn't bead at the top, so even though it's very, very saturated, it doesn't bead at the top, which is great. So anytime you're using it, right, you don't have to worry about it being like just this blob of ink right at the very beginning, which is fantastic, right? And if you have some pressure sensitivity, if you know how to use the pressure of your own hand to get line variation, you can get some really nice feathering even with the chisel. That was nice. That was really, really nice. Now we're gonna go ahead and take one of these warm grays so we can see the difference here. Right, still nice ink flow. Fantastic. So what I'm noticing about this one though is it's a little dry, right? So it's in some spots. So you really, and this one at least, you have to really use the intended thick parts. If you try and use the thinner parts, it's not actually getting in there as much. I'm sure like it's starting to come back, so I'm sure once you use it and the ink can actually get to where it's going, it'll be fine. But right now, there were some. I think it's working just fine now. But so it's not just the cool grays, right? Or the blue gray. We took a blue gray before. Let's try cool gray. Oh, that's really dark. Let's try a lighter one. Yeah, but I mean these are really good. Like I don't think you understand. Well, you might. If you're an artist, you probably understand. But the fact that you can get 15 markers for $5 and they flow like this. Now, I don't know how much ink is going to be in here, so I'm assuming that they'll die out pretty quickly. But just to get a cool gray marker to give you this kind of coverage and the nib and stuff be really good is great, because even if you get one of the cheaper markers, right, which like Ohuhu, which is known for being relatively cost effective and being really, really high quality, is still at least $2.50 a marker, right? So if you get 2, you're done, right? But I can get 5 grayscale markers or I can get 15 grayscale markers for $5. That's crazy, right? And they seem really good, right? So let's try this one. And we're gonna try and just do some coverage, right? I like very clean lines, so. Right, so if you do actually go around, you'll still, like a lot of my students will make this kind of line, and even with that, so if you're going back and forth really quickly, you can still get a nice coverage, but it'll still be a little streaky, right? So then, let's see if we do the round, do the circle method. Right, you can just get real, I'll have to wait for that to dry, but it looks like you can get some really, really nice coverage on that. So that's really good. Right, so I'm liking that. They say that they're super blendable, so let's pull out the 3, the 5, 7, and the 9, since I normally do even numbers. But okay, so one thing that you will see here, you can see how it's really interacting with the paper. So if you go over it multiple times, right, it seems like it's really oversaturating the paper. We'll have to come back to that to look. But when you look at this, which happened before, and we're just like, okay, let's go here. This was the bullet and this was the chisel, right? You can tell that these kind of blend nicely together. It's really, really looking nice that even when I went straight back and forth, right, it blends itself really nicely. So that's really good. All right, I should probably get another paper. since stuff's already bled everywhere, let's go ahead and grab another piece of paper. And then we can, like I said, we'll come back to the marker. Now, I do have to say, after looking at all the caps and stuff, right, the warm grays, the indicators, right, the warm grays, and everything else seem to be really, really close to what it says the color should be. So that's also a nice little feature. And so now you do not have a colorless blender that comes with this, which is something that you might need to know if you like doing colorless blends. Ooh, 7's really dark. So I don't know. That's gonna be the case, right? Because we can come back through here. Yep. Let's try and make that blend. Like I don't see it because of how it saturates the paper. The blending itself, like kind of trying to come together, seems a little iffy. But let's try another one. Oh, well, that's weird. They have a warm gray 3 and then a warm gray 4. That's why they were so close in color. These are not. We're at 4 and 6, so that's good. And warm gray 8. And I'm just gonna go over everything. Then I went over everything to try with a lighter color to see if that would blend it better together. But it's really looking like I said, as it blends, like it blends really nicely by itself, right? Like you do that and it blends great. But when it comes in contact with the colors itself, it's not, the blender's not that happy with itself. But let me try a different blend, a colorless blender real quick. So we did that, right? But I think that it saturates the paper too much, and that's why the blending doesn't work. But, right, when you come in and you can do this, right? It looks good. So, I don't know. The blending itself, by itself, the color by itself works really well. But this, I think because of composition and whatnot, it blends itself too much together. All right, then we're gonna do our little marker test. This is Tombow. Ink. So I found some Dollar Tree ink. It's King Art. And Edding. Okay, so we'll take the two we'll take that, and then we'll take the 3. It's generally what happens, right? You always want to take the lighter of your color set because that will have the most alcohol in it. Take a darker gray as well. Do like a 6 just in case. All right. So with this, looking at how it pulls the ink, the only one that it had, so the light gray has the most effect, obviously, so like I said, the lighter color, and it really only affects the Staedtler fine liner. It's the only one that's actually pulled a little bit of the ink, but Tombow, the Dollar Tree ink pen, King Art Edding, they all had 0 problems with the ink. So that's really nice, right? 0 problems whatsoever. So let's see what we can do really quickly. All right, so we just got done reviewing the Five Below 15 Grayscale marker sets, and you know what I have to say? These are actually pretty fun. They're really nice markers, especially because they're $5. Like you can't deny the price. Now, there were some things that I've noticed that would make them so that it's not necessarily the marker that I would go to for just working. And that is the fact that whatever the alcohol and ink content is, it really starts attacking the paper in the sense that you'll get a lot of these white little dots in the art. And that is because of how the paper is separated and stuff like that. And so it's inside the pores and fibers, and there's some that will get more ink and some that will get less ink. And because of that, you get this weird white dots everywhere. Right? Now, that does not happen if you just go over something with one pass. So if you can consistently and evenly go over it at one shot, then your paper is going to be just fine, right? And it will look just fine. But when I was doing the quick face drawing, and I was going really fast, right? And I definitely put a lot of ink down. Even in the places where there's not a lot of ink, it still shows that the white spots were coming. And it generally is because of the consistency of the ink and the acetone or alcohol base that the marker is using, and therefore it's like and it can also deal with the quality of paper. I have not had many issues with this paper when it comes to marker drawings in my professional career, and so I'm not blaming the paper, but more so it is the marker content. So if you, like I said, if you can do stuff really quickly and with one good pass, then there's not going to be a problem, right, at all. But outside of that, like the ink flow is great, the consistency was great, colors matched, like all that stuff was really, really good. So it's like a great starter set, right? And you cannot deny the amount of markers you get for $5. So I highly recommend picking these up because they are good. Are they the best? No. But are they good? Absolutely. They're 100% worth your $5. Give these to your starter artists or people who are in the mid-range and they're trying to figure out whether or not they want markers or more expensive markers and stuff like that. These are great, and especially for the Grayscale set, they're absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend picking these up, even with their shortcomings as far as the beading of the marker and the ink, and its blendability is not necessarily the best as far as trying to blend colors straight across. Not necessarily the best. The best one that happened is the warm gray, but the warm gray looks like it's struggling with the white dots because it was the more ink that I put on to get it to blend nicely, the more it was just like, nah, we're not going to do this, and then it doesn't look good, right? Now, if you are like me and you are trying to do more of a cell shaded style, I think these would be great, especially if you're trying to do stuff relatively quickly, because you can hit it in one pass. Let it dry. Most importantly, you have to let this dry. If you don't let it dry, you're going to get splotches and things that you don't want. So you have to give it a moment, even though it can go really, really fast. You have to give it a moment to dry, or break out the hair dryer and hit the paper and let it dry. But if you, like I said, if you're trying to do cell shading, it's really good for that because you can just put down your color and then the next color will be nice and sharp and have a great edge. So once again, I highly recommend you picking these up, especially for $5. You cannot deny that they are in fact worth it. So that wraps up today's episode of Is It Worth It? I hope that you are able to get some type of information that will benefit you in the future. Now, if you have any materials that you would like me to review, please go ahead and drop it in the comments below and I will add it to the list. If you are new to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell so that you get notified every single time that I drop new content. Thank you all so very much, and I will see you at the next episode.